What's going on, everybody? TheRealSherifM here, aka ManganasSteel, with another video about EDC Fixed Blades. These three represent the rest of my EDC Fixed Blade collection. So I'm going to go through each one of them and tell you a little bit about them and why I own them. So I think EDC Fixed Blades are forever useful, tools, and I personally really enjoy them. This guy is one that I picked up, actually one of the first, maybe, EDC Fixed Blades that I picked up, and it's still to this day one of my favorites. Currently it doesn't have any mounting on it because I want to put an Ultra clip on it, but really this thing is phenomenal. Comes with a nice Kydex sheath and a truly wonderful profile. I mean, look at this thing. I am always a sucker for a really nice burlap micarta, and this is one of the best. As you can see, this is made by White River Knives, and these guys are based out of my home state of Michigan. And I love supporting businesses that are from back home, and especially when they do really nice work like this. This particular model is called the Caper, and it was actually the grip was a bit of the inspiration for the RUCKUS, believe it or not. If you look at the RUCKUS and how much the grip upsweeps here, it definitely allows for some different grip approaches that I found in using this. And yeah, like it's a phenomenal little inspiring knife. The most obvious detail, as you can see, is this finger choil that gets all the way up, nestled right next to the blade, which gives you a lot of good control. Very, very excellent control for piercing tasks. And even if you put it into a hammer grip, you have a lot of control for push cutting. The knife is small, but gives me especially a solid 4-finger grip, as you can see there, and it just nestles into the hand really well. Definitely supportive for a saber grip and, again, piercing tasks. The scales come to an end right at the right spot here, so you can actually get a nice solid pinch grip without anything in the way. Plus the scales have a bit of chamfering here to allow for nice detailed work, or if you got to get in on the belly, you can actually tuck your finger into the finger choil right there and have an incredible amount of control over what the blade is doing. Overall, I was so impressed with this knife. Actually, I really would like to get a second one. I've been asking them for a little while to do a version that's in a black coated blade with G10 handles, just because I like my black on black knives. But they take their time and they manufacture these, and they do actually a lot of different versions. But this guy is really, really nice and has served me really well. I have resharpened it. I have had to tune up the edge from use on this guy, and the S35VN has served me very, very well on this guy, actually. This was one of my first S35VN knives, and so far I am very happy with the heat treat and just the general toughness of this knife, actually. This particular knife made me genuinely appreciate, actually, S35VN and its differences over S30V in particular. Little bit of a thicker blade stock, and as you can see, full tang all the way through. Nice little rivets right here. Overall, just a beautifully designed knife, I have to say. Pardon me. Really, really useful, really enjoyable to EDC, and also very, very useful in outdoor environments. I do carry this as like my small EDC knife when I do go camping and when I am outdoors. It's kind of like the perfect mix of size and capability for what I've found, and especially if you don't want to carry something really big on your hip and scare the locals when you leave the campsite, this is the way to go. One thing that I do plan on adding here is a bit of a lanyard with a little bit of something that glows, or something that kind of is orange. I just haven't found the right like bead or accessory. Just because of the darker tones, it is easier, I would say, in a camping environment for me to kind of lose track of it if it's out of pocket. But generally speaking, this guy definitely sticks by my side. Anyways, this is the White River Caper. Highly recommend it. Definitely a great outdoor camping EDC solution by far. No questions asked. Absolutely one of my favorites. And I know I say that about a lot of my knives, but I'm actually very picky about what I choose. So that's why even I picked up this guy. This guy is designed by a personal friend of mine, and really good dude by the name of Mike Emler. And if you guys haven't seen his YouTube channel, you definitely should. He does great reviews. He's been doing them for forever. He is a knife maker, a knife sharpener. I mean, this guy will have forgotten more about knives than you and I will ever know. And he designed this dude, the Sea Snake. This is an Artisan cutlery knife, and this one in particular is in that, let me remember, the AR RPM 9 steel. And this is a phenomenal EDC fixed blade. Phenomenal. And in the true EDC, like, you use it kind of for your everyday life kind of fixed blade. The blade stock is a bit on the thinner side, which allows this to be incredibly slicey, has a full flat grind and a Wharncliffe profile, so very, very good for opening up boxes and taking down sort of cardboard, things like that. And it just, since Mike has, I believe he wears a double extra large glove, he designed it perfectly to fit people of all different hand sizes. Now, I could see how somebody who has like a small hand, literally like a small or even medium-ish hand, may find these finger choils a bit large, but for my hand, these are absolutely perfect. And this is just a wonderful example of what an EDC fixed blade done right does. It has the full tan construction, good finger, arrangement, useful blade shape, very comfortable to pinch grip, again, for utility cuts. You can grab it in a hammer grip for push cutting and slicing through media, and it just works in every way, shape, or form. Even if you wanted to like cut your steak, like, this absolutely works for it because of the blade shape, blade profile. The tip doesn't get too thin too quickly, which is a concern with Wharncliffes in particular. You never feel like this is not a robust user knife. And man, I gotta say, like, I absolutely love it. The added benefit of this is it does feel very capable as a defensive choice, which a lot of people don't talk about in the knife community, but is something that is important to me personally. I do believe almost every knife that you carry should offer you some degree of defensive capability, even if it wasn't part of the intention of the knife. That's why I tend to, again, if we use the RUCKUS here, tends to be a bit more of a tactical knife design and construction. You know, this will be something that you can use in an emergency if your life depended on it. And not all Wharncliffes are capable of doing that, or, you know, knives of this style, but this one absolutely can. And it is very comfortable to carry because it is so slim and thin. I actually can carry this in a scout arrangement, you know, on my hip, whatever, or, you know, you can get an Ulta clip like I'm going to do for my other knife and carry it in the pocket. And it is very, very convenient, very, very nicely done by Artisan Knives. I think they did the Sea Snake justice, and absolutely one of my all-time favorite EDC pocket knives, without question. Now, the last one is completely different than the other two. This is a departure, I would say, and is not something that is often talked about in the knife world, but purely defensive knives. This is the Copus Design Elvia, essentially. The Elvia is a pattern that was designed by Ed's Manifesto, and it was inspired by a fruit knife that his mom used to carry for self-defense purposes, and has been evolving since to be a very capable defensive knife. You do carry, it's a pikal, that's what they're called, Pikal, and you do carry it and grip it in this reverse orientation. And for anybody with minimal experience in defensive training, you just kind of grip and rip. Believe it or not, though, I have found these to be excellent knives for dealing with fruit, hence their origins. And this guy is one of the knives that I do carry because I do have a tendency to go into dangerous areas. I have my whole life. I grew up in Detroit in the 80s and 90s when it was considered the murder capital of the United States. I've been to Brazilian favelas. I've shook hands with crack dealers and, you know, gang bosses. And I've been in some situations and in some places where I have been very fortunate not to experience anything violent, but where the element of self-protection is something one should absolutely think about. And this is a knife that I would very comfortably carry. It's kind of hard to show on camera here, but you do have this just nice, tight grip. Here we go. How about that? That just allows you to deploy the knife quickly and use it in an emergency situation. And that's really the kind of the point, is that this is an emergency situation knife. This particular one was done in 154 cm, has a very, very short primary bevel there, and that's it. On each side, it is a 0 ground knife. There is no secondary bevel to my knowledge. Yep. The purpose of this is to maximize the strength of the blade all the way down to the tip here, because again, this is not a finesse knife. This is a defensive knife. It comes with this really great Kydex sheath, as you can see. It's a bit worn from my carry, and it sits in there like this. And the idea is that you keep it in this upside down position, and you can just grip it and push off with your pinky here. So when it's fixed, you know, into position, you just can kind of pop it just like that. Otherwise, the retention is quite strong and is quite good, which is perfect. You don't want something like this popping out because the blade is actually facing towards your body when you do carry it in this position, but you just want to be able to grip and rip it when the situation requires, you know, which makes this a very effective tool for the job. I personally really like this guy. There are other options. TNT CNC has been doing one that is very nice. I would really like to get my hands on it. It's just a bit expensive, and I do have, not next to me, I do have the Emerson non-wave version. They recently brought out a wave, which I have always thought, like, why the hell didn't they just do that from the start? It's an Emerson feature, and the type of knife it is really would benefit from having a wave, but whatever. It's Emerson. So yeah, this was the Copus Design Elvia. I think it was an Elvia-L if I'm not mistaken, and Copus is Kopis. Overall, a really, really great defensive tool. So these guys are the EDC Fixed Blades that I keep in my collection as more of my true kind of like users. Not my true users. That's not fair to the other knives. I do use all of my knives as much as possible. There's only a couple that I really don't. But we haven't gotten to those yet in my sort of designer spotlights. You'll be surprised to see them when we get there. But here you go. Here are the last three of my EDC Fixed Blades, and let me know down in the comments what your thoughts on these are. And if you enjoy this series, man, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.